Hi love, welcome back. In today's class you're making this beautiful granny stitch mini dress. If you're new to the channel, my name is Miss I and you're welcome. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you my love, thank you darling, thank you sweetheart for always coming back. This is a one size dress. Let's get right into class. This is how I'm going to arrange my color pattern from my scrap yarns. So you can take a screenshot. I made 44 rows. Now to begin with, you are going to make slip knots. And we are going to chain the number of inches we want for our length. In this case, I made 33 inches for my length, and I'm going to make a very long chain, about 170. After your 170 chains or your desired chains, we are going to be working granny stitch cluster. So you are going to skip 2, and in the third stitch you make an incomplete double crochet. Add another incomplete double crochet in the same stitch. So this will make it 3 and pull through all. Chain 1 and skip 1, chain 1, skip a chain, and in the next stitch we are going to make our 3 double crochet cluster. So we are going to make 3 double incomplete double crochet, and in the last one we are going to pull through. So this is our cluster. Chain 1 again, we are going to make a double crochet or granny stitch cluster. So make 3 incomplete double crochet, and this is 3, and now you have 4 loops on the hook and pull through, yarn over, pull through all. And we are going to keep working this until we have our desired length. So I'm going to work this until I have 33 inches, and if there's any remaining chain, I'm not going to work in that chain. I'm going to leave it. So depending on the length you want, go ahead and work until the end of the row. At the end of the row, I have my 33 inches, and I made 61 incomplete 61 granny stitch cluster. So you're going to cut and join your second yarn. You're going to chain 3 for row 2, turn your work, in the very first chain 1 space we are going to put our granny stitch cluster. So that is 3 incomplete double crochet, and you pull through all. Chain 1 again. In the next chain 1 space you are going to make your cluster. And pull through off, and you are going to keep repeating your cluster until the end of the row. At the end of the row, we are going to put our last granny stitch cluster in the very last stitch, that is on top of the chain 2 space, and this is what we should be having. Now you are going to cut, make a slip knot, or however you join the next one. Join your next color yarn, which my next is gray, and you are going to chain 3. So row 3, turn your work, in the very first chain 1 space you are going to make your granny stitch cluster. So that is 3 incomplete double crochets in the same space. At the end you are going to pull through 4 loops. Chain 1, place your granny stitch cluster in the next chain 1 space, and you are going to keep repeating your clusters in the chain 1 space until the end of the row. This is how the pattern is basically. So we are going to be alternating colors, and you are going to be switching between your colors until you have the desired length. So I'm starting with the back panel, and with the back panel I am going to make 44 rows switching between colors. So go ahead, and if you want to use only one color, go ahead and do that, and I'll meet you when I have my 44 rows. So this is my 44 rows, and this is the back panel, and this is what the work is looking like. Now we are going to be making 2 front panels, and I'm going to walk you through how to make your panels. I've already made 1 front panel, and this is it. So you begin as we began with the back panel. You just arrange the same color until you have half. So I made the back panel is 44 rows, so the front panel for the one side is 22 rows. We are going to go ahead and make another 22 rows for the other side of our front panel. So this is the back panel, and again with the first front panel I started from the beginning, the same colors until I had 22. So I'm going to start with the cream, wine, champagne or nude, and I'm going to go until the end of the row for the other side of the front panel. To begin with the other part of the front panel, again you're going to make a slip knot and make a long chain. So the back panel, my clusters were 66 cluster in a row. So you're going to skip 2, and in the 3rd stitch you are going to make your first cluster, chain 1, skip 1, make your cluster in the next, chain 1, skip 1, make your cluster, and a cluster is 3 incomplete double crochet in the same stitch. So you are going to keep doing this until the end of the row, or until you have your desired length for your dress. In this case I'm going to work 61 cluster, and I'll meet you when I'm done with my 61 cluster. And again, cluster is working 3 double crochets, 3 incomplete double crochets in the same stitch. So go ahead, and I'll meet you at the end of row 1. Now row 2, I'm going to be joining mine wine or burgundy color, and you are going to cut your cream color. So you're going to chain 3, join your burgundy, chain 3, turn your work. In the very first chain 1 space you are going to make your first cluster, and cluster is 3 incomplete double crochets in the same stitch, and 3. Now you have 4 loops remaining. Pull through all 4, chain 1. In the chain 1 space you are going to place your 3 double crochet cluster, or you are going to place your granny stitch cluster in the same stitch, chain 1, and you are going to keep repeating this until the end of the row. So this is row 2 of your front panel. Now at the end of the row we are going to be switching to our next color. So work your last cluster in the very last stitch. Now you're going to change to our next color, and the next color is champagne. So connect your yarn and you're going to chain 3. Turn your work in the chain 1 space. You're going to work 3 double crochet or 3 incomplete double crochet or your cluster. So this is what you're going to repeat. So just watch your back panel, how you arrange your colors, and you're going to go by the same exact way you arranged your colors and work for your front panel. And I'll meet you when I'm done working my other side of the front panel. So this is what the work should be looking like. This is the back panel. So lay them with the right side facing inside because we are going to be sewing them. So place all the panels together, and this is what it should be having. Make sure your work is aligning very well. Now we are going to be working our shoulder, but before we do so, we have to fasten and cut the loose ends. You can sew them in if you want, whichever way works for you, but I am going to cut them. And now the excess chain you are going to cut and pull through. It will form a knot, so you don't have to worry about the excess chain. So this is how to work with that. So you are going to fasten and cut all loose ends, and we are going to join first from the shoulder parts. So with the shoulder part, you are going to make a slip knot, and you're going to insert your hook inside the first front and the back panel. Before we do that, you are going to measure 4 inches on both sides of the front panel, and you're going to use your stitch marker to mark so we wouldn't work inside that space. So measure 4 inches and place your stitch marker, or count 7 rows out. So the same way, you are going to count 7 rows or measure 4 inches and place your stitch marker on the other side. So we are only going to slip stitch our work until we get to the stitch marker space. So insert your hook inside both sides and pull through to secure. Now you are going to chain 1, and inside each row, both the back and front panel, we are going to be working 2 single crochets to attach our work. So on each row, both back and front panel, we are going to be making 2 single crochets. Also, with attaching, you can decide to use slip stitches or use your darning needle. I just prefer to work single crochet so to cover the loose ends and the cuts, so the work will be quite rough, especially when you cut them. So just choose a stitch that would work to cover the knots. So go inside each row with 2 single crochets, both from the back and the front panel. And you're going to work until you get to the stitch marker space. Now the stitch marker space, you are not going to work attaching again, but I don't want to cut the yarn, so I'm going to be working single crochet to connect to 2 single crochets in each row, just like we were doing whilst connecting, but this time we are making 2 single crochets at the back side and we are going to go all the way until we get to the other stitch marker. So at the other stitch marker, this is what your work should be like. Now you are going to take your stitch marker off, and again we are going to be working in both panels, so the front and the back, and you are going to be placing 2 single crochets in each row, both front and back, until you get to the end of the row. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, my love, my sweetheart, my darling, please do. And if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for always coming back. So at the end of the row, you are going to chain 1, you're going to make a slip stitch, chain 1, and cut and fasten your work. And we are done attaching the shoulder part, and this is what our work should be looking like. Now we are going to be working, this is what the work should be looking like. This is the outside of the work, and this inside would be looking nicer, obviously nicer than the outside. Now we are going to be working the collar, so you are going to attach your yarn at any sides of the corner and place 2 single crochets in each row. So each of the 7 rows we left, place 2 single crochets in each row. And already with the back we made our 2 single crochets in each rows already. So when you get to the back, you're going to work single crochets all across up until you get to the other side of the front panel, and work your 2 single crochets in each row. So this is what I'm talking about. So at the back, you are only going to work 1 single crochet in each space, and you are going to go until the other side of your work. When you get to the other side, again you are going to be working 2 single crochets in each row until the end. Now we are going to be making the collar, so we are going to chain 3, count as your first double crochet. So inside the same stitch, you are going to add your 2 more incomplete double crochet, or you are going to work your cluster. Chain 1, skip 1, make a cluster, that is 3 incomplete double crochet, and pull through all. Chain 1, skip 1, make a cluster, and you are going to keep repeating this until the end of the row. So you are going to be making chain 1 cluster, chain 1 cluster until the end of the row. And always remember to skip a stitch before you make the cluster. So this is the corner, and I'm placing a cluster, chain 1, and you are going to keep repeating this until the end of the row, and that is collar row 1. Now collar row 2, you are going to cut your yarn and join your next color. So I'm joining burgundy, and you are going to chain 3, turn your work. Now we are going to start increasing. So inside the very first chain 1 space, you are going to make your cluster, chain 1, and inside the same space you are going to make a cluster. So that is our first increase. So 2 double, a cluster, chain 1, a cluster, all inside the same stitch. Now moving on, you are going to be working cluster in each chain 1 space until the end of the row, and we shall increase at the end. At the end of the row, so the very last stitch, we are going to place our increase. So make your first cluster, pull through chain 1 and make a cluster in the same stitch. And this is row 2 of our collar. Now row 3, you're going to join your yarn and chain 3. Turn your work. In the very first stitch, you're going to place a cluster, chain 1 and a cluster, all in the same stitch because we started increasing. Place your last cluster, chain 1, and now in every chain 1 space you are going to place a granny stitch cluster all around until the end of the row. And at the end of the row, we shall make an increase, which is a cluster, chain 1 and a cluster. So this is me at the end of row 3, and I've placed my first cluster, chain 1, and place your second cluster. So this is your increase. You are going to keep alternating colors until you have 7 rows for the collar. This is my 7 rows, and this is what the collar should be looking like. Don't worry, the work is quite messy, so when you're done you just have to take time, cut and fasten all loose ends and get away with all strands. So this is what your work should be looking like. Now let's move on to attaching the size of our work. To attach size of your work, make sure your work is aligned properly, and this time with the armhole I'm going to measure 9.5 inches, and this is what the armhole is looking like. Again, you can go ahead and cross check by counting to make sure the back and front panel are equal. We are going to be attaching from the bottom of our work, and you are going to make a slip knot and insert your hook through both front and back panel. You are going to chain 1, and with attaching we are going to be using again slip stitches. So in each stitch you are going to make a slip stitch. So a stitch from the front, a stitch from the back, and we slip stitch together. Again, if you have a more faster or convenient way of attaching granny stitch, you can leave it under the comment section below, and if you want to use your darning needle to stitch them together, again you are so free to do so. So you are going to be making sure as you are stitching, you are going to be making sure that the work is properly aligned. So keep slip stitching, and we are going to be slip stitching until you get to the stitch marker space. At the stitch marker space, you are going to take your stitch marker out. You are going to chain 1, and we are going to make borders around the armhole. So in the chain 1 space, you are going to make a single crochet, and on top of the cluster you're going to make a single crochet. Inside the chain 1 space you make a single crochet, the cluster space you make a single crochet. So you're going to be alternating this until the end of the row. Single crochet in each of the spaces, that is the cluster and the chain 1 space. So go ahead and do this, and I'll meet you when I'm done with my border. At the end of the row, you are going to slip stitch inside the chain 1 space, and you are going to chain 1 or 2, cut and fasten the yarn. Now you are going to work the same exact thing for the other side of your dress. This is how your work should be looking like. So now I'm going to join my mint. You don't have to do the same thing if you don't want to. If you have only one color, it works perfectly. Also, attach the yarn at the bottom part of your armhole, and you are going to chain 44. But if you want your arm length to be a bit longer, just consider chaining 15. But I'm going to go ahead and make 44 to 46 chains. And now, just as we did for the body of the work, you're going to yarn over, skip 2, and inside the third stitch you're going to make an incomplete double crochet, add another incomplete crochet, making it 3, chain 1, skip 1, make your incomplete double crochet or your granny stitch cluster, chain 1, skip 1, make a cluster. And you're going to keep making cluster, or you're going to keep working on this until the end of the row. At the end of the row, this is what your work should be looking like. And we are going to be slip stitching our work to the body of our work. So at the armhole, you are going to slip stitch 4 times in each stitch. So this is 1, 2, 3 and 4. You are going to turn your work, yarn over, and in the very first chain 1 space we are going to put our first cluster. So 1, 2, and the last one 3. Chain 1. In the next chain 1 space you are going to place your cluster. And you are going to keep repeating this until the end of the row. So keep making clusters in each chain 1 space until the end of the row. At the end of the row, you are going to switch your yarn to the next color. So this is row 3, and I'm switching it to navy blue. You are going to chain 3 as usual. Turn your work. In the very first chain 1 space, you are going to make 3 double crochet cluster. Chain 1, and you are going to keep repeating this until the end of the row, and we shall join it to the body of our work, or the main part of the work. So now the last one, you are going to make your last cluster inside the last stitch. We are going to chain 1 and we are going to slip stitch 4 times. So just make sure the stitches are not engaged. So in the next 4 stitches, you are going to slip stitch. And now you are going to cut and join another color. You can tie your yarn so the work will not unravel, but whichever way works for you, please do that. So now we are going to yarn over, and inside, after the first cluster, inside the first chain 1 space, we are going to make a cluster just after the first cluster. We are going to make a cluster, that is 3 double crochets, and you are going to pull through or chain 1, and in the next stitch you are going to place 3 double crochet, 3 incomplete double crochet, and you pull through all. This is what you are going to do until you get to the end of the row. At the end of the row, you are going to connect your next color, and you are going to chain 3, turn your work. Inside the very first stitch, you are going to place your 3 double crochet or 3 incomplete double crochet, chain 1. Next stitch, 3 incomplete double crochets, chain 1, and you are going to keep working this until the end of the row. So at the end of the row, make sure the stitches below is not engaging, so slip stitch 4 times, and you are going to cut and fasten your next color. So you are going to make sure you fasten the yarn. You are going to turn your work. You are going to skip the very first nude or the very first cream color, and inside the chain 1 space, you are going to place your clusters until the end of the row. So make your cluster, chain 1. In the next stitch, you are going to make your cluster. And this is how we are going to be working the armhole. So we are going to just follow the normal style for our body of the work, and we are going to go round, and we slip stitch 4 times to the body of the work. So we are going to go round, so this is 2, 3 and 4. So we just slip stitch to the body of the work, right? So go ahead and go round, and I'll meet you when I'm done with my armhole and we shall connect. So I'm done with my armhole, and the last stitches are 4, so I'm going to slip stitch them inside, and this is what we should be having. So now we are going to close these 2, or we are going to join them together. So again, you can use your darning needle, slip stitch, or single crochets. For this part, I'm going to be using slip stitches to attach both panels inside. So it's the same exact thing how we did for the arm. So what you are going to do is what we did for the size of the dress. So slip stitch on top of the cluster and slip stitch in the chain 1 space on top of the cluster and in the chain 1 space, and you're going to keep doing this until the end of the row. At the end of the row, you are going to chain 1 or 2, cut and fasten your yarn, and you're going to repeat the same method on the other side of the armhole. If you don't understand anything, please pause and watch and continue your work. This is how the arm is looking like. So after working the arm, again you are going to cut all loose ends, and now we are going to be working the borders. We are going to be working around the armhole, and to work the borders you are going to insert your hook, make a slip knot, and I'm going to be using my navy blue yarn for that. So you are going to chain 1 and place 2 single crochets in each row until the end of the row. So go ahead and make 2 single crochet all around until the end of the row. You are going to be working the same borders around the bottom part of our dress and also with our neck. So at the end of the row you are going to slip stitch, chain 1 and work single crochet in each stitch all around until the end of the row. So we are going to be placing the same borders on the other side of the arm and also at the bottom part of our dress. So with this same format, so go ahead and make your single crochets, two single crochets in each stitch, and make a single crochet in each stitch until the end of the row. At the end of the row you are going to slip stitch inside the single crochet space, chain 1, cut and fasten your yarn. So you should be having something like this. And now this is how the work should be looking like. I'm done working all my borders, and at this point you can leave your work like this. You can choose not to close it. If you don't close it, it's a new design. You can make a cardigan or kimo from it. So you are going to go ahead and cut the next strands. And now you are going to measure 5 inches from the collar and place your stitch markers. So you are going to do that on both sides. Again, the reason why I count is if you are finding it confusing, like one side will be longer than the other, please, after measurement, do well and count to make sure everything is equal. So I'm going to clip both sides, and now we are going to work on attaching the bottom or attaching the work together, and we are going to start working on the wrong side so it won't reflect on the right side. So you are going to turn your work, and when you are working the borders, just make sure you leave enough yarn for closing of the 2 rows. So this is how I struggle with closing. So you shouldn't fall a victim. Just make sure you leave a long strand that can close off the 2 rows. Now we are going to be connecting our work together. Again, Make a slip knot and pull through both panels to join it together. Chain 1, and just as we did for the arm, you are going to be doing the same exact thing. So make in the first 2 rows, I want to secure the yarn, so I made single crochets, but moving on you are going to be making slip stitches. So slip stitch on top of the cluster and slip stitch in the chain 1 space, and make sure your work is aligning very well. So slip stitch in the cluster space, slip stitch in the single space, in the single crochet space. You are going to go ahead and do this until you get to the stitch marker place where you've measured 5 inches and marked. So go ahead and do this until the end. So at the end of the row, you're going to chain 1 or 2, cut and fasten your yarn. So we are at the stitch markers place where the stitch marker is. So cut and fasten your yarn. Now we are going to be joining our last our yarn for the border, and you are going to chain 1. Inside each stitch you are going to make a single crochet on top of the cluster and a single crochet inside the chain 1 space. So single crochet on top, single crochet on the chain 1 space, single crochet on top, single crochet on the chain 1 space, and you're going to keep alternating this or working single crochet all around until the end of the row, until you get to the other side. So you're going to go round the collar, and when you get to the collar, make sure you do 2 single crochets in each stitch. So work your single crochet all around until the end of the row. So now at the top you are going to make your single crochet, chain 1 and place single crochet in the same stitch. We don't want the collar to be curvy, we want it straight. So that's why at the corner we are making a single crochet, chain 1, a single crochet in the same stitch to define the collar. So now go ahead and make single crochets in each stitch, and when you get to the other side of the work, make sure you make 2 single crochets. So at the end of the row you're going to slip stitch, chain 1 and cut and fasten your yarn. And at this point we are done with our work. You just have to go around. There will be a lot of loose ends, so just turn your work inside out, take all the loose ends, make sure you yarn them in, and you are done with your work. So make sure you cut, fasten your yarn, and I'll wear it on the mannequin and we'll see how beautiful our dress is. And this is how beautiful the dress is. Until we meet next week in class, my love is bye bye.